Hi, my name is Ray Naylor, and this is the Performing Songwriter. My guest today is Sharon Goldman. Sharon is a resident of New Jersey, and she's been writing songs for about 15 years. Sloan Wainwright, who is the sister of Loudon Wainwright, said of Sharon Goldman, "Beautiful work, her singing is flawless, and her songs are smart and sensitive." I'll be back in a minute to talk to Sharon Goldman, and we will also hear several of her songs. Sharon Goldman, how are you?
Good. How are you, Ray?
Thanks for coming way over in New Jersey.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Reading your website, you began writing songs, I think, in about 2000.
Yeah, that's about right.
And
it's a long time ago now.
Did you also start performing at that time?
I did. I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I definitely sang in the shower and I wrote songs behind closed doors, but I never really performed or considered myself a real songwriter. Until around 1999-2000, I discovered the open mic scene in New York City, and that was really what drew me into performing and meeting other performers and getting out there and writing more songs.
And what made you start writing songs?
It was something I had always wanted to do. You know, I was always a writer growing up, but I had never really had the opportunity. But again, it's just something that I was drawn to listening to music in high school and college. I played a little piano and guitar, again, just, holed up in my room, not for anyone to hear. But I started, I got married, I started working, and I was really missing having something in my life that I could be really obsessed with, that I could really be into. And, something about music, really drew me in. And when I discovered the possibility of being able to go to an open mic and share something that I had written and sing in front of people, that combination somehow was very exciting to me. And it was really like something I could hang my hat on. I could go there, a couple times a week. And once I started, I have never really stopped since then.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about our songwriting topic today.
Okay.
And I really have two questions. The first one, you have a really, I think, wonderful blog.
Thank you.
For songwriters, at least, especially.
Thank you.
And you talk about songwriting, you interview people. So I wanted you to talk about that, how that comes up, how people can check that out.
Well, the blog is called Songwriting Scene. It's at songwritingscene.com. And it started very simply. I had left a job. I was in between jobs for a couple of months, and I was bored. People who know me know that I always have to have a project. So I decided to start a blog. I'm a writer. It's very easy for me to, express myself in writing. I decided to start this blog, and it was just very simple. I was just posting random things that I was thinking about, little tips here and there. I come from the magazine world. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
So I was accustomed to writing articles about, giving people resources and tips and stuff like that. And that was 6 years ago, so it's really grown over the years. I've managed to stay, consistent with it, more regular sometimes than other times. And it's really expanded. I've gotten a tremendous amount of response to it over the years. I'm amazed how sometimes I'll go to a retreat or a conference for songwriters and find people there who have read it and who know my name from the blog. But the posts come up in a different variety of ways now. I'll often do Q&As. Like you enjoy interviewing songwriters, I do as well. So I take it as an opportunity to reach out to songwriters who I'd like to talk to and see if they'll talk to me. I've one of the running jokes on my blog is that I would love to interview Paul Simon. Hello, Paul Simon. Call me. But that's never happened. But I have been able to talk on the phone with several people that I admire, like Amy Mann and Jonathan Brooke and Dar Williams. and Mary Gaucher and Tracy Grammer. So these are,
A lot of good people.
A lot of good people and a lot of interesting insights that I can get in the Q&As. I also have highlighted different songwriting scenes around the country. So I'll write a blog post about New York or Philadelphia. I've had guest posters write blog posts about their local scene in Denver or Los Angeles or down in Atlanta. And those have been really fun. And then just a lot of different posts about the creative process. I'll try and mix it up, different tips, different areas of songwriting, whether it's the music or the lyrics, chord progressions, alternate tunings, and then other guest posts from people about their journey, about their process. And then sometimes I just talk about whatever I want to say.
One of your I think the most recent blog, you talked about you were at a point where the songwriting, I don't know if you were bored with it or you didn't have the passion as much as you did earlier, but then you got over that. I wanted you to explain what happened.
Yeah, I would say that's been the most recent journey for me. It's amazing how being a musician and a songwriter, there's a lot of ebbs and flows, so things change and evolve often, depending on what you're doing and what your goals are and how you're feeling. And I'd say last year at this time, I was feeling really down about it. I had put out an album a few months prior. I just was tired of what I was writing about. I felt like I had nothing to say. I was sick of writing love songs and breakup songs and, just random topics that I've always been writing about. I really had no idea where to go with it. And so I just felt myself very much at a standstill. Was trying different ways to jumpstart. I was taking some guitar lessons. I was taking some singing lessons. What's going to jumpstart it? And it was through some vocal lessons that I was taking with a teacher, Penny Nichols, who's also the founder and head of a songwriting retreat that I attend called Summer Songs. She and I Skype each week and mostly work on singing, on vocal technique. But we were talking about songwriting, and through the weeks discussing that, sort of trying to get my juices flowing again, we got into talking about my background, which is that I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish family where I really did not have much of an opportunity to sing, to perform, or anything like that. And it's not a community that I'm a part of now. I've kind of put that out of my life to some extent. But I was really drawn to kind of revisit some memories from childhood, stories, biblical stories about time that I've spent in Israel, just experiences that I had growing up in this community. And that somehow sparked a whole, range of possible topics and thoughts that just started brewing in my mind, and suddenly I was writing again. I'm not saying that everyone has been a winner, right, but I have a body of work now that's kind of reflecting some of these deeper topics that I never would have explored a few years ago, and now I'm kind of going there. So I feel like that's part of a lot of people's evolution as songwriters.
Okay. We're going to have you do a couple songs, and we're going to get you in the center here. And while we're doing that, I'm going to have a slide or two about your blog, and I'm going to what's on there is some of the things that you've said on there, maybe some of your tips or whatever.
Absolutely, that's great.
And then we'll be ready, and you'll be back, and you're going to do your first two songs.
Okay.
So anyway, Sharon will be right back.
I've been writing a few songs inspired by stories of biblical women. which is something I grew up knowing a lot about. So this first song is about the story in Genesis of Lot's wife. And Lot's wife is only mentioned in the Bible in a story when she turns into a pillar of salt.
Hot desert wind drives along the sand. She holds her veil across her face with a shaking hand. The smell of sage and cinnamon mixed with fear and ash. The sun rises over the burning city, and her daughter says, "Don't look back. Don't look back." She is a nameless wife and mother. No one hears her voice. She longs to stay, but she must follow. She doesn't have a choice. All she knows was swept away. Now bitter tears roll down their path. The sun blisters her skin as she falls behind, and she hears a voice saying, "Don't look back. Don't look back." Pillar of salt is all that remains. You will find her frozen on the desert plain. Punished for turning her gaze, she could not obey. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back.
All right. So that's an example of something I've been writing recently, just exploring biblical stories, my Jewish background. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish family, and something that I grew up with, a custom, is something called Kol Isha, which means voice of woman. And what that meant in practice was that women were not supposed to perform in front of men. They weren't supposed to sing in front of men. So in the synagogue, you would not hear women singing publicly, and pretty much what I'm doing now would customarily not be appropriate. And though I'm not a part of that custom anymore, it's something that I was drawn to write this song about called Kol Isha.
Kol Isha, Kol Isha, Kol Isha, Kol Isha, Kol Isha, Kol Isha. forbidden. Don't raise that sweet sound in front of men. Silence, silence, girls, sit quietly. Don't sing out loud, it might arouse attention. Kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha. When I was 12, I sat behind the great divide. On the women's side, I could only listen. How I wanted to be the one who sang for the many, the favorite son. But daughters were raised on modesty. I wanted to be free. Kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha, kol isha. The Bible says Deborah sang in victory, and Miriam sang her song at the sea. A woman's voice is the boundless force of life, unhidden. We cry, we laugh, we shout, we sing. Let us sing. Kol isha, 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 kol isha.
Our performing topic this time around, you had something else on your blog that I want to kind of relate to this,
Sure.
and that is what you talk about before a song. And I've talked about this with another guest, I forget, but I wanted your
That's a really interesting question.
thought on that.
That's something that among my songwriting friends, this is a vigorous topic of conversation that always comes up. It's the patter. You know, what are you going to say before a song? What are you going to say in between a song? And I certainly cannot claim to have perfected it by any means. I feel like it's something that I'm always working on. I really do look at other songwriters and see what they're doing, see what I like, see what I don't like. And I think by doing that, you can really get a sense of what works and doesn't work. But I think the bottom line is that you have to be yourself. You know, whatever you're saying, you know, you don't want it to come off phony or stilted or so formal that it just doesn't sound like you. But I would definitely say on the other, you want to stay away from, you know, the same thing in between each song. Like, we've all been to open mics or shows where, you know, maybe an inexperienced performer will start every song with, "This is a song I wrote about blah, blah, blah." Mm-hmm. And "This is a song I wrote about blah, blah, blah."
Right.
You know, I feel like you want to think about the pace. You want to think about what kind of story you can tell about a song that will lead people to know a little bit more about you. Also, don't be afraid to say nothing. That was a lesson for me. Not every song needs to have a long introduction. Mm-hmm. You could just do 2 songs in a row, for example, or just a quick a quick little sentence to lead up to the next song or something like that. I think there can often be, people who just say too much. There'll be a speech before each song, and that's not great either. Keeping your audience in mind, sort of like how to keep them engaged and sort of flowing along with what you're doing and bringing them into it is really important. And that can really involve practicing a little bit. Not that everything has to be 100% rehearsed and you don't want it to sound like that, but, practicing your timing a little bit beforehand, whether at open mics or different performances, building the story so that you feel comfortable doing it once you're out there is a plus.
And I think that what you said, be yourself. You take somebody like Greg Greenway, as I'm sure, and he's a very dynamic performer, and I wouldn't try to imitate him, because that's not who I am.
Yeah, so it's not to say, that if you are a very shy and retiring person that you suddenly have to become this exuberant social animal at all. You can still be yourself, but, that you still would have something to say and that you would keep it in the realm of who you are, and kind of allowing people in to see who you are is what's nice. Certainly if you're in a band and you're playing in a huge rock band, that's a really different experience. But if you're a singer-songwriter, maybe you're playing just alone or just with one other person. For me, when I go see, someone like Greg Greenway or Dar Williams or something like that, I'm kind of wanting to get a sense of the person and having them be a little open and vulnerable to let us, the audience, into that.
Right.
And a lot of the patter that comes before and in between songs can kind of foster that a little bit, I think.
I think, too, there's a balance between, in some sense, depending on how you define it, you want to be larger than life, but you don't want to be, like you said, not who you are. You don't want to be false.
Right.
You're going to be a little bit different on stage, although I suppose some people aren't, but maybe a little bit different in terms of thinking about entertaining your audience, keeping content, keeping a relationship with your audience.
Right.
And you might be talking to somebody on the street.
Yeah, in my humble opinion, you do have to keep in mind that you are putting on a show, not a show necessarily, but a show.
You are.
And not everyone is at the level of, Bob Dylan, where Bob Dylan maybe just hardly says anything.
Right.
But he's allowed to do that. That's kind of an outlier. But for most of us, I think we do need to... It's a little different than just talking to someone one-on-one. You are becoming larger than who you are. But on the other hand, it's not so out of bounds that you're not who you really are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to hear your last two songs.
Okay. Great.
And while we're getting set up on this, here's a slide or two on some songwriting resources, some of which I'm going to steal from your blog, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Steal away.
Okay, Sharon will be back for her last two songs.
So I thought I'd share a couple of songs that relate to the idea of using songwriting prompts, where you just take a word or a phrase and challenge yourself to build a song around that. So I do that quite a lot. And this is one that was really interesting. I was taking a songwriting workshop where the challenge was to there were 3 columns. There were words in each column. The first column had action words. The second column had who a song might be about, and the third column had where the song was taking place. So just by picking randomly, you came up with some interesting ideas. And for this song, my challenge was to write a song about 2 girls, ages 9 and 11, in a coffee shop or a diner, stealing something. So when I got that challenge, I said, I got this. This is called Short Brown Hair.
At the Galaxy Diner, my little sister with the long blonde ponytail. Her name is Jenny, pretty as a new penny, and Mama's favorite without fail. She's leaning onto our daddy, who calls her his lady and his darling Clementine. And my little sister, her skin is like peaches resting in the sweet sunshine. But I just sip my chocolate milk like I don't care. And I sink down deep into my chair. In the window's reflection, I see nothing special there. Just short brown hair. I don't remember what I was thinking when I stole her jelly beans. I put them in my back pocket, ran like a rocket. I just wanted to be me. Now at the Galaxy Diner, I sit beside her with her Barbie in between. When I look at Jenny, that bag of candy feels like a rock in my blue jeans. But I just sit and look at her like I don't care. All I think about is it's not fair. When people see her, they just stop and stare. But not at my short brown hair. My short brown hair. My short brown hair. At the Galaxy Diner, my little sister with the beautiful blue eyes smiles up at my mother, one pretty girl to another, like she's won the biggest prize. I get a grilled cheese, but nobody sees me. It's like I'm not even here. Maybe deep in my French fries, there'll be a sign that I don't need to disappear. So I eat those jelly beans like I don't care. And they taste perfectly sweet, I swear. I'm almost blinded by the window's glare that lights my short brown hair. My short brown hair. My short brown hair. My short brown hair.
All right, so I thought I'd share another song that came out of a prompt, which for a while there on my blog at songwritingscene.com, I was putting prompts out there into to the world where other people would share the results of their efforts on the prompt, and I would always join in too. So the last one I did a while back, I just put out the prompt bicycle, and a lot of people came up with some super interesting things on that. And I just started thinking about when I was growing up, how I would just ride my bicycle around the block, round and round the block, and always be food for thought. So this is called Left Turn.
My bike around the block, on the city street and on the sidewalk. I make 2 left turns and then I turn left again. A dozen times I pedal past, and a dog watches me go nowhere fast. He waits on the stoop in the sun for the day to be done. And a girl is outside playing games while the boy next door calls her names. They're growing up while I stay the same. And I know I'm not getting anywhere this way, going around in circles every day. I can't figure out how to go right when the future seems so out of sight. I ride my bike around the block, on the city street and on the sidewalk. I make 2 left turns and then I turn left again. At the corner is a tree where you carved our names with your key. I miss you, but you don't miss me. My spinning wheels hardly make a sound as I cover the same old ground. I can't get lost or found. As I ride, I sometimes feel the cool wind on my back, wishing everything was right on track. Maybe I should take a different route, a new direction that gets me out. Ride my bike around the block, on the city street and on the sidewalk. I make 2 left turns and then I turn left again. I ride my bike around the block, on the city street and on the sidewalk. I make 2 left turns and at the light I turn right. Waiting for the train in her long red coat, ready to meet her secret. He waits downtown where no one knows. No one knows. She wants to be free.
Okay, Sharon, I did want to ask you, people might want to know where you're playing. They might want to, you have how many CDs? You have a number of them.
I have a lot. I'm a recording addict. I have 5 CDs available out there in the world.
Well, it will be 15 years. That's one every 3 years, I guess. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. How would they get those? How would they see where you're playing?
If you want to see where I'm playing or just more about my music, you can go to my website, which is at SharonGoldmanMusic.com. And of course, if you want to see my blog and the two kind of link together, you can go to SongwritingScene.com.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you.
And I should say that our next show will be with Norman Taylor. And we've had to reschedule Norman a few times, but he's coming next week to record this show.
Another New Jersey.
Fellow. We've had several New Jersey people.
Great.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.